Everyone, thank you so much for joining us on the program. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Court of Appeal notifies the expulsion of Mewele 24 others from the Rivers State House of Assembly by a high court in the state. Tonight we shall be discussing the House of Representatives Legislative Week with focus on boosting relationship between NAS and the people. Our guest is Honorable Philip Agbese, Deputy Spokesman, House of Representatives. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now let's begin with some developments in the polity. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has nullified the expulsion of Martin Amewele and 24 others from the Rivers State House of Assembly by a Rivers State High Court. A three-member panel of the Appellate Court unanimously held that the lower court lacked the jurisdiction to grant the ex parte order. Celestina Iria reports.
Section 272, subsection 3 of the Constitution gives the Federal High Court powers to determine whether the seat of a National Assembly member has become vacant. The Federal High Court has exclusive jurisdiction to determine if the seats have become vacant. The express mention of the Federal High Court in Section 272, subsection 3 of the Constitution automatically exclude all state high courts from having the jurisdiction. The ex parte order, having been made without jurisdiction, is null and void. Justice Jimmy Bada held that no urgency warranted the ex parte order being granted by the Rivers State High Court. The trial court ought to have listened to both parties before coming to a decision which was prejudicial to the appellants. The judgment was an appeal filed by Martins Amewele and 24 others versus Vito Oko Jumbo as respondents.
To the President's Cabinet, particularly the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, for what he's doing in the FCT, giving Mr. President the support that Mr. President deserves to continue to put this country on the path of fast development. So we thank the FCT Minister for what he's doing in supporting Mr. President and for what he's doing for the peace of Rivers State by being the political leader of Rivers State, ensuring that every community, every local government, every tribe in Rivers State work together for the peace and the development of Rivers State.
With this judgment, Martins Amewele and the 24 other lawmakers who were expelled can return to the Rivers State House of Assembly to continue their legislative duties. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation Joseph Usef says most of the flood incidents recorded so far have been flash and urban floods resulting from high rainfall combined with poor and blocked drainage systems in the urban areas. TVC News' Kemi Balogun reports.
In the last 24 hours, some states have recorded high flooding, including Lagos, some parts of Ogun State and the north. This has been largely due to climate change and human-induced environmental factors.
Announcing the arrival of the Honorable Minister.
At this meeting to give an update on the flooding situation across the country, Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation reveals that this will continue as predicted in April, and river flooding is also expected to begin this month.
So far, more than 10 states of the Federation and the FCT has experienced 1 degree of flooding or the other, with several casualties recorded, including displacement of people and loss of property.
Some states likely to be impacted by the prediction of river flooding.
For Ogun,
the minister also says there is no cause for alarm as the ministry is monitoring the development on the River Benue sub-basin with Wuroboki in Adamawa State, where the flow from the upstream Cameroon is received.
The flow situation within the catchment is currently within normal, as the rising water levels at our various monitoring stations in Naomi are still within acceptable level. The flow situation at Jederebode in Kebbi State upstream of Kanji and Jeba reservoirs which is the first voluntary station on the River Niger in Nigeria, is still at normal situation.
He reveals that Shiroro Dam on River Kaduna is equally impounding water, with no release of water yet from any of the dams within and outside Nigeria. Kemi Balogun, TVC News, Abuja.
The Nigeria Customs Service will be reactivating an MOU it signed with the Turkish authorities to curtail the movement of illegal arms and ammunition to Nigeria. This followed the recent seizures of payloads of illegal arms at the ports in Nigeria coming in from Turkey. Sifon Essen reports.
Authorities in Nigeria are on their toes to intercept illegal items, especially arms and ammunition, coming into the country. The recent seizures by the Customs Service indicates most of the illegal weapons have come in from Turkey at the time Nigeria is grappling with the proliferation of small arms and light weapons.
The Controller General of Customs addressed members of the press due to an interception in Murtala Mohammed Kagu, and the same question was raised about Turkey. Fortunately, there was an MOU with Turkey when he was the spokesperson of the Customs during the late Controller General of Customs, Diko Indi, and he promised he is going to resuscitate that MOU to engage with Turkey Customs Administration on how to curtail the menace of the smuggling of small arms and light weapons into Nigeria.
This news conference by spokesmen of security and law enforcement agencies at the force headquarters is meant to provide updates on the state of the country's security.
Security agencies have consistently continued to grapple with threats from banditry, kidnapping, terrorism, economic and financial crime.
There are situations we deploy, our very peculiar weapons and arsenals and manpower to support ground operations.
Terrorism remains top on the list of security challenges.
This despicable act of what happened in Goza is what happens at the ending cycle of terrorism. At this phase, the terrorists are carrying out their acts in order to do what? One is to attract attention.
Security agencies are grappling with winning the hearts and minds of the people, which they say is essential in winning the war against insecurity. Sifon Essen, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to discuss the House of Representatives Legislative Week with focus on boosting relationship between the National Assembly and the people. Please stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. On Wednesday, 3rd of July, President Bola Tinubu emphasized the necessity of collaborative governance for building a strong, united Nigeria, underscoring that the task is a collective responsibility of all arms of government and segments of society. The president was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, at the inaugural Legislative Open Week organized by the House of Representatives, reiterated his administration's commitment to working closely with both the legislative and judicial branches to foster an inclusive government. He highlighted the importance of creating a legislative framework that promotes inclusiveness and mutual respect. But according to the lawmakers, the Legislative Open Week provides a platform for reflection and forward planning. And that's what our conversation tonight is hinged on. As these legislators reflect and plan forward, how can we boost relationship between the National Assembly and the people? Honorable Philip Agbesa is joining me from our Abuja studio. He's a deputy spokesperson of the House of Representatives. Honorable, good evening to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's good to see you again. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Right. So let's talk about the Legislative Open Week. What are lawmakers planning to achieve with this?
Thank you so much. I bring you and all Nigerians greetings from the People's House, particularly tonight that we in the spirit of the NAS Open Week. The NAS Open Week is a novel initiative by His Excellency, the Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, for us to engage with critical stakeholders on our own activities. Nigerians will recall that shortly after His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas' inauguration on June 13, 2023, as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, he unveiled a parliamentary agenda for the 10th House of Representatives. That agenda encapsulated issues like transparency in governance, accountability, and so on and so forth. And one of the key items there I would like to add is the issue of an open parliament, a parliament that is open to all citizens of this country and outside. So what we have done, we are doing with the NAS Open Week, is to open ourselves to entertain and interact with critical stakeholders. Like today, we had traditional rulers cutting across the 36 states of the country coming into the parliament to interact with us. So having unveiled our parliamentary agenda for the 10th House of Representatives, we felt there was a need for us to invite in our masters, the Nigerian people, to come in and look at our books and tell us how we are faring. Like they say in the principle of justice that you cannot be a judge in your own case. So for us, all that we have been able to achieve in the last 1 year is for Nigerians to come and judge. And in judging us, we believe that it will provide an avenue for us to equally sit up and to do more in the areas that they feel that we have done well.
So how instructive is the President's remarks to members of the 10th House of Representatives?
Well, what Mr. President said yesterday to us is not new. Since we came on board as a parliament, particularly for the first time in the history of our country that we're having diverse opinion being expressed by the 8 different political parties that are in the parliament today. The level of synergy that Nigerians have witnessed from us, the maturity and the peace and tranquility that we enjoy in the parliament so far reinforces our understanding that what Mr. President said yesterday is not new. Even though that it is not new, it is always good to reiterate the fact that a synergy, partnership, and cooperation, between arms of government is always the best. And as a parliament, we believe, because this NAS Open Week, particularly for us, is not just to celebrate our achievement as a parliament, again to reinforce the fact that we value, we cherish, the 25 years of the institution of the parliament, as a critical component of our democratic journey as a nation. So having established that, we believe that it is when we partner, when we work together, that Nigeria will make huge progress. And this partnership, apart from the peace and tranquility which exists between the executive and the legislative arm of government, we have equally seen that from the statistics given by His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, unveiling, our 1 year scorecard, you equally see that so far, we have been able to pass 80 bills. 89 bills in total, have passed through this parliament, 9 of them being executive bills and 80 being, parliament bills. So I think we are all enjoying the partnership. The executive is enjoying the partnership. The Nigerian masses are enjoying the partnership because these bills and motions, when they go through the parliament, they are to have direct impact on the masses. So we have taken this collaborative approach, which of course represents the current leadership of the National Assembly, their own political maturity, their exposure and understanding of the issues that affect this nation. So far so good. I would say that it's been a very great one for our country.
Right, and I'm very happy this is an opportunity for National Assembly members to also reflect and forward planning. But before we get to that point where we begin to talk about improving inclusion through citizens' engagement, enhancing citizens' participation, we must bridge that gap, the distrust Nigerians have towards the National Assembly. Am I correct, Honorable?
Yes, you are very correct, because when we came on board, we inherited the issue of a trust deficit. It's been a very key issue, and it's not only for the National Assembly alone. We came on board at a time that Nigerians generally, had lost faith, in government generally, government at all levels, from the local government to the state and the federal government levels. They've lost faith. So the first thing we did when we came on board with the legislative agenda unveiled by His Excellency, first is to make openness, a priority, for us. And in doing that, I think over the last 1 year, we have been able to build a certain level of trust. You'll notice that when we gave notice for this NAS Open Week, in the past, a lot of Nigerians would have been very reluctant to even go to the parliament. But because they have seen a leadership that mirrors transparency, accountability, and one that is very proactive, a leadership that is interested in engaging the Nigerian people. For us, we believe that to serve Nigerians, we must all partner. Nigerians must understand what we are doing for them, because it is when they understand our efforts that they equally, make their input. And it is not a one-way thing. All of us, either in the executive or in the parliament, we all have a role to play. So what basically the NAS Open Week has done for us, is to help in reducing the trust deficit, which used to be there in the past. And if you notice, from yesterday, we opened the entire parliament, because normally you have visiting hours, visiting days for people to come to the parliament. But the NAS Open Week is an opportunity, where the entire parliament is open to all Nigerians, who have something reasonable to contribute, questions to ask. So in the wisdom of His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, we were encouraged before now that our offices must be open. Our committee leadership must also open their doors to receive, entertain requests from Nigerians, give information where necessary, relate with people, explain what the various committees are doing. Now we're talking about the issue of cholera, the Committee on Environment, the Committee on Health, the Committee on Water Resources. They are all interacting with Nigerians to say, this is where we are, this is where we are going, these are the things we have been able to achieve, these are the things we intend to do more. And I believe that from the inputs that we have received from the various segments of the Nigerian state, of course, going into the second year, into the second session of the parliament will also be more engaging, because now we have listened to Nigerians directly, we've heard from the horse's mouth. We know exactly what they want, and we will still encourage them. From what we have seen so far, I believe that it's not going to be an annual ritual alone. Mr. Speaker, in his wisdom, has seen that Nigerians are interested in the affairs of the parliament, and I'm sure from time to time he's still going to provide the opportunity for Nigerians to come in and make their contributions.
All right, because some people say sometimes one can be a judge in his own case. It's sad that the National Assembly is seen by many as a corrupt and frivolous institution. Now, let me get your perspective on this. Why do you think many Nigerians have this perception?
Yes, it is. We cannot blame them, because the beginning. Let's take it from 1999. Some of the issues that have dotted, the leadership of the National Assembly. You've had in the past the Fabian Osuji saga, the one that involve committees of parliament, engaging with the executive. And after that one, I think there was another one about the Minister of Health on spent budget, when Person Mrs. Adenike Grange was the health minister, and one architect, late architect Gabriel Aduku, was also the minister, with Senator Yabo Basenjo as chairman of that committee. Yes, it is very true that in time past we've had some of these very, very palatable stories coming from the National Assembly. But again, our democracy is a work in progress. There's corruption in every segment of the Nigerian state. That notwithstanding, we cannot, dwell on the past, to use that as a basis to judge what is currently going on in this current parliament. And that is why, in the wisdom of His Excellency Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, first and foremost, in constituting the standing committees, he found people like us who are coming from the civil society, critics, mirrors of the society, to be in this current role. And one thing His Excellency Mr. Speaker said to me when I was appointed as the deputy spokesperson of the House, he said, we we are going to run an open parliament. We want people like you who represent the other segment of the Nigerian state to be part of what we are doing, to see exactly what we are doing, and to report back to the Nigerian people. The second time I went back to His Excellency, it will interest you, to know. I went back to His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, with my chairman, the spokesperson of the Parliament. We had a few issues that time. I think some of our ad hoc committees, there were allegations that they requested for money or something from some committees. And His Excellency, Mr. Speaker, immediately set up a committee to investigate the members, sent in that issue to the ICPC, and within a period of 7 days, the persons whose names were mentioned were cleared. And Mr. Speaker said, take it back to the Nigerian people, report, to them what it is. So I believe, basically, that yes, in the past we had issues, but at the moment, with this level of openness, with the level of transparency, and being proactive about what you are doing, you don't wait for the new, for problems before you explain yourself to Nigerians. That's the reason why we have dedicated this whole week, to an open engagement where we are using seminars to talk to people, engage intellectuals. We're having workshops. We're even having public hearing, to get the input of Nigeria. Public hearing on our 1 year in office to freely allow Nigerians. So we believe this is one way to build to rebuild the trust, the lost trust, in the past. So now,
another way to build trust, especially with Nigerians, is dealing with the root cause. Why have Nigerians not trusted the National Assembly in the past year? And one of the reasons that have been attributed to this is the persistent refusal of the Nigerian legislators to disclose to the public the actual earnings. This has contributed to this distrust. Many Nigerians believe this is the paramount issue of concern in legislative discourse in Nigerians. And, to add to that, many Nigerians have also complained, or continue to complain, kindly hold on, about the huge salaries and outrageous allowances shrouded in secrecy. It's not even about whether they want to know or not. This is because it's shrouded in secrecy since 1999. And the National Assembly never deems it fit to publicize or respond to these allegations appropriately.
Okay, yes. Well, the way maybe those before us in the past have reacted, to that, their style may be different, but as an open parliament, I will say it anywhere. If need be, I'm going to disclose documents, because that is exactly what Mr. Speaker has asked us to do. What I get as salary is 606,000 naira. That's what I receive every month. The records are there. And the way I spend it, even though it's a private issue, but I still can go further to disclose that. Nevertheless, that is not even the big issue. I think the big issue and the elephant in the room we must identify is the fact that even the National Assembly does not have the power to fix its own salary and allowances. The Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission is the body, responsible. So maybe sometimes if Nigerians, make requests using the Freedom of Information Act to send the request to the wrong person, they might be getting the wrong answers. So to get full disclosure on National Assembly salary, whether in the House of Representatives or in the Senate, I believe the organ fixing, responsible for fixing that sum is the one, such inquiries should be directed at. Nevertheless, when we get them, we react to them immediately. We send details out. My constituents are very happy, the way I go about the utilization of my allowances and my salary. But to equally address the very germane issue, because sometimes when people talk about allowances or salaries, it is about, are people really using these allowances? Do they have a need for them?
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes. So do they really have a need? Because when the issue of, vehicle for committee assignment came up, yes, I remember when I appeared on this very program, and my chairman appeared on a couple of other programs. We discussed, was it necessary, for operational vehicles to be provided for members of the National Assembly, and for a parliament that has carried out oversight functions in all the MDAs. At least some of our committees have visited MDAs, moved across the country, inspecting road projects and so on and so forth. So far, so good with the statistics that we have on ground today. This is the first parliament in one session, less than 1 year, that has been able to look at 1,351 bills. 1,351 bills for emphasis. So the issue, as someone coming from the civil society perspective, I believe that yes, in the past, some of these things were issues because we didn't see the parliament. We didn't see the honorable members. We didn't see the senators working for the people. So today we have changed the narrative because you now have a parliament that is working day and night. You know,
all right,
and I believe that everyone who...
Honorable, kindly hold on. Let me pause you there. We need to take a break, and when we come back, we will continue this conversation. You're watching Politics Tonight, everyone. We'll take a break, and I'll be right back. Please stay with us.
An army is simply defined as the military force of any country, designated and equipped to fight on land. But practically, it's a lot more than that. The Nigerian army has a checkered history that dates back to 1863, when the British colonialists held sway and founded what was then called Glover Hausas. The colonialists were still in power when the Nigerian army became what it is today in 1956. From its humble beginnings, the Nigerian army has metamorphosed into a formidable force, operationally and geographically divided into 10 divisions, the basic field formation. Over the years, the army has been involved in operations throughout the country, most especially during the Civil War, and has undertaken major operations abroad. The increasingly complicated global security situation has forced virtually all countries to divert considerable amounts of its annual budget to defense spending, and the astronomically complex nature of weaponry has made maintaining the army a very expensive venture, which no country can run away from. Nigeria has had its undeniable share of security challenges, with the situation taking a dramatic turn with the advent of terrorists, insurgents and bandits taking the country by storm, and required the intervention of the Nigerian military, with the army at the forefront. Successful military operations come with personnel and equipment casualties, which need instant replacement to achieve total victory. Unfortunately, this comes with huge foreign exchange requirements amidst tight national budgets. The perennial shortage of critical equipment in the field could not be allowed to prevail, and the army leadership was compelled to look inwards and produce some of its military hardware needs. Specifically, the Nigerian army was moved to rejig its engineering architecture in order to innovate, conduct research and development, and produce prototypes of platforms required for its operations. In this regard, the former Nigerian Army Central Workshop was upgraded and redesignated Command Engineering Depot (CED) in June 2020 and mandated to work towards actualizing the long-desired indigenous military-industrial complex. Assuming office as Chief of Army Staff in June 2023, Lieutenant General Tariq Lagbaja has never hidden his desire to build a well-rounded and formidable army that can withstand 21st century challenges.
Upon my assumption of office as the Chief of Army Staff on the 23rd of June 2023, I crafted my command philosophy, and that is to transform the Nigerian Army into a well-trained, equipped, and highly motivated force towards achieving our constitutional responsibilities within the joint environment. This command philosophy is designed to rest on 3 pillars of leadership, operational effectiveness, and sound administration.
He described the Command Engineering Depot as key to his philosophy for the Nigerian Army.
The effective functioning of the Command Engineering Depot, as well as other maintenance and repair outfits in Nigerian Army, is key to the operational effectiveness pillar of my command philosophy. The equipment that we employ in the field, the mechanical, the electrical equipment, they form the fulcrum of our operational activities because the troops require them for protection, for mobility, in order to project force against the adversary. Upon my assumption of office, I did an assessment of our equipment holding across formations and units of the Nigerian Army, especially those ones deployed in the front line. And I discovered that we are low on equipment holding compared to the established table of equipment for formations and units of Nigerian Army. And looking at the state of the economy, it behoves on me to think of ingenious ways to address the shortfall in equipment across our formations and units. And that is the point at which I gave the marching order to the Command Engineering Depot to do whatever it is possible to ensure the maintenance and the serviceability of our equipment. And since then, the Command Engineering Depot has been up and doing. Several of broken down equipment, unserviceable equipment, especially the ones that have complex mechanical and electrical fittings, have been fixed by the Command Engineering Depot. Even equipment that were completely burnt down were brought back into a serviceable state.
The Command Engineering Depot rose from the cradle of the uncompleted and abandoned Nigerian Army Central Workshop project in June 2020. It was also placed under the office of the Chief of Army Staff and its organogram reviewed so that a Major General commands the formation instead of a Brigadier General. It was also followed by massive infrastructural renewal and posting in of competent officers. At the helm of the CED is Major General Babatunde Alaya.
Command Engineering Depot has 2 main tasks. The first is to form the 4th line of equipment support for the entire Nigerian Army. That is, it forms the highest level of equipment support to the Nigerian Army. So any equipment that requires complete rebuilding, refurbishment, and retrofitting beyond the capabilities of other equipment support outfits, such equipment will be backloaded to Command Engineering Depot for either refurbishment, rebuilding, or retrofitting. And secondly, Command Engineering Depot anchors research and development for the Nigerian Army. This means that any individual, civilian, or service personnel conducting research and development on behalf of the Nigerian Army will go through the Chief of Transformation and Innovation, and such R&D product will be brought to Command Engineering Depot for prototyping, test, and trial. It's after this that it will be now recommended to the Nigerian Army whether to go ahead and produce in a large scale or to conduct further research and development on such a product. So we have pretty much two basic tasks for the Nigerian Army.
As previously mentioned by the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Alaya narrates with pride how the Command Engineering Depot has saved the nation billions of naira through the rebuilding and refurbishment of mine resistance and protection vehicles and armored personal carriers.
The Chief of Army Staff takes the issue of maintenance very seriously. In fact, he always emphasizes on ensuring that all equipment are in optimal serviceability state at all times. And when we talk of maintenance, even if the equipment is completely almost destroyed or burnt, what we look at, we do the comparative analysis in terms of naira and kobo. You look at the cost of procuring new one. If the Nigerian Army and the federal government have to procure a new equipment, let's say for example an equipment that was burnt as a result of adversary action, you look at the cost of procuring the equipment and then the cost of rebuilding the equipment to as good as new. That's the analysis that we do, and the Chief of Army Staff has been very supportive. For example, you've seen Camel MRAP completely burnt, and you saw Legion MRAP completely burnt. If you look at the Camel MRAP, the unit cost of one is about 750 million naira. And if you look at, you do the comparative analysis, with just about 20 million, you can rebuild it to as good as almost new. So it is very good, it's economically viable to rebuild this equipment. So the Chief of Army Staff is very keen on this, is very supportive, and he has rebuilt a number of this equipment since he took over last year, and we have returned them back to their unit. In the past, this equipment will have been set aside and considered as beyond economic repair. They will have been sold as scrap and cut into pieces. But we've been able to bring this equipment back to life and deploy, and they are fully functional. So the Chief of Army Staff is key in equipment maintenance, and this equipment Command Engineering Depot is a primary leader, plays a primary role in that aspect.